Stadium Journey podcast, proud to be part of the VOC Nation radio network. And Stadium Journey is more than just a wicked awesome podcast, as you know. Our website, stadiumjourney.com, has over 2,500 stadium reviews, news items, and great features, like the one I wrote today on the Cyclodrome. Go check it out. We're also all over social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Like, follow us, subscribe, everywhere. We appreciate it. If you need something to do when the world locks back down again, you can always binge listen to the podcast. Just type in VOC Nation Radio Network into your podcast search app, or go to stadiumjourney.com, look under the podcast tab, and there we are. In addition, all of our old video podcasts are on the Stadium Journey YouTube channel. And as some of you may know, if you're there right now, we stream live on twitch.tv/danlaw83. And welcome to everyone watching there right now. Don't be afraid to participate. And now let me take a minute and introduce our starting lineup. We've got Dave Cotney. You can follow him online at ProFan9. Mark Viquez can be found at Ballpark Hunter. Our producer, the above average comedian, Dan Calachico, is online at DanLaw83. And I'm Paul Baker. You can follow me at PuckmanRI. Tonight, we are very pleased to be joined by Brian Cooper, the chairman of MKTG Canada. Now, I'm not sure my typical intro will do him justice. So I found a bio, Brian, online. I'm going to read this for a second. So Brian Cooper, chairman of the award-winning marketing agency MKTG Canada and former senior executive of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, is an inductee to the Sponsorship Marketing Council of Canada's Hall of Fame. Cooper launched and built MKTG Canada, broking over $1 billion in sponsorship and spearheading its sale to Dentsu Aegis. Prior to that, he served as VP, Business Development and Operations for MLSE, helping launch the Toronto Raptors expansion franchise. He also serves as chair of Canada Basketball, the Hockey Canada Foundation, is an advisor to the Wayne Gretzky Foundation, and sits on the advisory board of Playmaker Capital. Other previous roles include president of the 1991 Grey Cup winning Toronto Argonauts. The Globe and Mail has previously named Cooper one of the 25 most influential figures in Canadian sports. Wow. And he's on the Stadium Journey podcast tonight. Brian, thanks for joining us and welcome to the podcast.
Great to be with you guys.
So I'm going to start off with a real softball question. So can you explain what a sports marketer does to some of our listeners who may not exactly know the ins and outs of sports marketing?
Well, it depends it's basically it's the business of sport, not the player contracts, not anything to do with the baseball or football or NHL operations. It is everything to do with venue operations, merchandising, food and beverage, sponsorship, broadcast, all of those contracts, all of the inner workings of those things. When you look at, I'll give an example, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, one of the powerhouses in North America, 5 teams, 3 different venues, a couple of restaurants on top of that. And they used to have 2 broadcast networks, 725 employees. Of those 725, about 500 are running the business side of it. And it's everything from an event team to a merch team to their own construction crew. It is a big, big business, and sports, as you know, is a big business across North America and around the world. It was some 40 years ago that I had an undergraduate degree in accounting, and I was working for a public accounting firm. And like you guys, I loved sports, and I was a basketball player and not of note, and I just got interested in how does this work. And there was a guy that started IMG, Mark. I can't remember. I'm losing his name right now, but it was the biggest sports company in the world. And he started out as Jack Nicklaus's agent. And then he started going into sponsorship and in endorsement contracts. Then he started representing venues. And so I was enamored with that. And at the time, there was no internet, and I was just looking up newspapers and microfiche in the library, but trying to learn more about sports marketing. And the more I got into it, it's like every other business. And by the way, it's not like, you're in there, you're hanging out with athletes and you're just talking about last night's game. At 9:05, it's the grind like every other goddamn job. And, you're going to work hard. Not only that, if you're working for a team, a franchise, you're working, you're getting there in an 8, you're going to work a full day, you're going to take a dinner break, and then you go into a game that you're working out again, and you're leaving at 11. So, and the next day you're waking up because there's a hockey game that night. And so it is a grind. It's a young person's game, but it's really rewarding. And it's, what, I've been very, very fortunate. I've been surrounded by a lot of smart people that I've benefited from.
Yeah, that's some advice. I mean, I've worked in, event management. I worked for a couple of teams. I worked for the Patriots and the Paw Sox, as our listeners know. And, the kids out of college were expecting to come in, work for the Paw Sox and, hang with the players or do something like that. It's like, nah, that doesn't happen. In fact, when I worked for the Patriots, we were expressly forbidden to talk to the players. So nobody can understand that. Like, so if Tom Brady came up to you after the game and said, "Hey, Paul, I love what you did, grilling those sausages today. Let's go have a beer."
Yeah.
Sorry,
no, that shit ain't happening. But you know what? Look, at the same time, it is exciting because I can tell you that no one's going into, Citicorp or any big bank and like rooting for them at night on TV. You know what I mean? Like there is that whole team element to it, and it's you're part of a club, and so it's a limited club. There's only 32 NFL teams, and there's only 32 basketball and 30 hockey, and so when you go to a cocktail party on Saturday night, no one's talking to the goddamn banker.
Oh, I can vouch for that.
Yeah, they're saying like, how did it go in sports this week? So anyway, it's been pretty interesting.
Oh, absolutely. 30 years in psychology, and all the people all ever want to talk about when they know what I've been doing is, you work for the Patriots? What was that like? Or now, now I do some announcing for a couple teams, and let's talk about that. How about all this stuff I went to school for? How about the stuff that paid me?
If it made you feel any better when you announced that you were working for the NWHL, I didn't care.
You're lying.
So let's keep going on that strand. Brian, you talked about like what the typical day was, which seems atypical for us 9-to-5ers. When you hit game time, what would that look like? Are you looking for fires to put out, or?
Well, it depends what you're doing. I mean, like when I was with the Argos, I was president of the team. You're hitting game time. You probably have 2 owners, if not all 3, at the goddamn game. So you're managing up and making sure that everything that they need is taken care of. They've probably brought a couple of celebrity friends of theirs as well. You're making sure that that's connected to the broadcasters that know that at X time during this quarter that the camera should go onto the box because that's what they're going to be. And you're going to have someone in the box to make sure that they're up front on the box. Then you're going to make sure that, what are we doing in merch sales? What, make sure that the lineups at food and beverage aren't too long. If so, you got to put more staff on it and redeploy staff from someone else. And then, you're hoping you're going to win the goddamn game. And so you're going down on the field to make sure everything is good there. And you're dealing with the general manager who doesn't really want to do anything with you because you're a suit and I'm a football guy. So go screw. On a Raptor game, it was a different thing because we sucked. And we were launching a franchise that this wasn't a sophisticated basketball market. And they clapped more for the mascot than they did for the players. And, they would be waving behind the baskets when we were shooting a foul shot, distracting our players. So it was an educational thing. And basketball is, there's music playing as they're on defense. So that's everything from picking out the music to it is a dynamic and really you have to be flexible situation because it's a live game. When people go to the theater, you go to Les Mis, or Phantom of the Opera, Hamilton, you know that the ending, that you're going to walk out of there, no one's going to potentially get really seriously injured or set a world record or something phenomenal that happened that never happened before. In sport, that can happen. So you need to be completely prepared, and you need to be prepared for the worst scenarios. You know, I was doing the World Championships basketball in 1994, and the Cuban team, I had 4 guys defect. And so, I get this phone call at 10 o'clock that we got 4 guys that are missing. You know, somebody from Mississauga, which is another part of outside of Toronto, had shepherded these guys out, and they were hiding them. And, the intel were, so now we have the RCMP. And so, like, you're dealing with this, and there's a game going on. So it's when you're in that team sport, or not even team sport, any sport, it's a dynamic situation. So you can't get too high, you can't get too low.
Wow, that you must have like just totally crashed when it came to vacation time.
I drank a lot, but yeah, I did. Now, you know what I did, and unfortunately, probably my family suffered for it, just because your down season is when your business season really starts, because you're renewing contracts with sponsors, you're looking at new prototypes of merchandise that's gonna, we want a new jersey because we need to sell more. We peaked out on the existing jerseys, and you're applying to the league to get that done. It's there's not a lot of downtime, and I feel sorry, and I still speak to because I'm still doing business with the MLSNE and the Raptors and hockey, and just from the roles that I'm playing now. But there's no downtime with this COVID thing. They're like, one season ended, they got 4 weeks, and they're in that time they're preparing for the opening of the next season. Tough times.
Yeah. And you're always like reacting. Oh, this is coming out, and we're reacting. We're negotiating with the government. We can't do this the way we thought we were going to, or we're going to have to change our travel so that we're only playing in Canada. I
can tell you that MLSNE is a company that makes, I think, about $160 million a year. They're going to lose about $120 million a year, if for this year, this time frame. And they're privately owned, and it's 2 telcos and Larry Tannenbaum, who was my partner. I started a company with Larry called Inside Sports that we were partnered in, and I mean, they can all afford to lose that. But no one likes losing that type of check.
So with Insight, you guys, if I have this right, you guys basically started a few TV projects. Is that, do I have that right?
It was a network. We owned 4 networks. We started them, and then we also had a production company. So we did I think at our peak, we did about 400 hours of sports broadcast a year. Most of it shoulder programming, not live sport. And then we started Gold TV Canada, the NHL Network. We were one of the original founders. NHL Network, Gold TV Canada, the World Fishing Network, Gaming Network, and there was one other one, I can't remember it now. We ended up selling it to Kroenke, to Sam Kroenke, Denver Nuggets. He ended up buying them all. But Larry bought me out at one point. But it was good. We had, we did a thing called Gold Rush, where we followed the selection of the Olympic team 2002 Utah, the selection of the Canadian team. Wayne was the general manager. So the project was supposed to be from the tryouts to the selection, and that was it. And it was just going to be the picking, I think we were calling it. Wayne insisted or convinced me. He said, "You got to go all the way through the Olympics." And I said, "Wayne, that's like, it's Olympic footage rights are crazy, and to get access and cameras for the quality production we want to do." And by the way, no one buys. I said, what if we lose? He goes, "Oh, we're winning this. We're winning this." And I'm like, "Well, no one fucking buys Silver Rush. They'll buy Gold Rush, but
right.
If we lose this, I'm going to lose a fair amount of money. You know, we rolled the dice and we won it. I had a backup plan of, you know, the backup plan was going to be a documentary of what went wrong. And in Canada, when like, if you don't win gold, it's like, oh, we got problems. We got big problems.
Well, wasn't that the first one that they won? Wasn't that the first
Yeah,
Olympic?
2002, first one in 50 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there had been some close calls, like the year that that Lindros decided not to play in the NHL. He went and played in the Olympics, and they had Joe Juno, and
That was
they had
over in
a
Nagano, I
decent
think.
shot that year.
Yeah, that was Nagano. That was when Wayne was still playing.
And Nagano was when they trashed the hotel, or was that the
Right?
American
Because
team?
that and that one when
Both.
that one when Wayne was still playing, that was the one where he didn't take the penalty shot.
Yeah, Ray Bork took the penalty shot.
Yeah.
And I think we had a royal commission on whether or not Wayne should have taken the penalty shot.
Exactly.
So, you know, you said you started this Inside Sports and built up these TV networks, and then ended up selling. What's that like at the end? Like, do you feel like you've really accomplished something? Do you feel like you're not quite done? Does it feel like, oh, you know,
there's mixed emotions.
It's good to move on.
You know, well, it's mixed emotions. I mean, when you build something, I'm sure you guys have built something, and then, you know, you had to let go. I'll give an example. You have a kid, you put, you know, 18 years of doing everything for the kid, and all of a sudden they're like, see ya. And you're going,
I
like,
wish.
what? I wish.
Sorry,
But, you know,
sorry.
it is like that, because it's, you know, you're doing it, you become emotionally attached. And now, look, the money at the end of it, you know, sort of makes you feel better, but the money's not everything. You know, money's not everything. So, you know, there's an emotional attachment. But you know what, I firmly believe, especially with this generation, these kids growing up now, you know, we all may have gone through 4 or 5 different jobs, maybe 7, like myself, problem child. These kids, they're switching every 2 years, every 3 years now. And it's, you know, and money doesn't work for them. I mean, they're just like, you know, I want to find a different challenge. I want to find something that I'm passionate about, which I say to my young guys, you know what, if you're passionate about it, you're never going to feel like you worked. You're just doing it. And, you know, I did it because, like you guys, I'm passionate about sport. But you also realize that, you know, I could never go to a game now, and I still can't. You know, I used to go to a game with my buddies, and, like, you know, we'd have a bunch of pops and, you know, have a good time. I can't do that because I'd have people coming up to me, and they want to, you know, I have to be coherent, and you know, they want to talk business, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's interesting. Why don't you move on?
Well, yeah, I think definitely not on that scale, but I think we can relate, because that when we're going to games, we're like, okay, well, so what's the washroom size, and what's on the menus, and we're taking pictures of this and that.
Absolutely.
It's totally different.
When we were doing because you have a business interest in it, because you have a different perspective. When we were looking at building the what is now Scotiabank Arena, and I think we did 17 arenas. Like, we went around to find what is the best of the best, because, you know, every year they come out, like, you know, you look at Skydome now compared to Camden Yards or something, like, it's a joke. You know, you become dated so very quickly, and because some guy has, or the collective experience by different populations say, I want intimate, I want better, I don't want hot dogs and peanuts. I want, you know, this great steakhouse, give me the great steak sandwich. I'll pay $19. Yankee Stadium, I forget the name of that steak. That thing is fantastic, that steak sandwich. So, you know, it's, you go out there and do these things, and it quickly changes.
Yeah, Toronto's still like that too. It's like it's whatever's cool at the moment, right? It's very hot and cold. Wait a second, all these guys have these other ballparks over there that people say are cool. Well, suddenly the ninth wonder of the world is not cool anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately, Camden Yards destroyed everybody's concept of a ballpark or a stadium. So post-Camden, pre-Camden, Sky Dome, Comiskey Park in Chicago suffered that fate with design and construction. However, Sky Dome did get it right by placing it downtown with walkable distance. So they did that right.
Yeah, but Mark, I think what changed was intimacy became better. Bigger isn't better any longer.
No.
Right. And, and also multi-use. We played the Raptor games. We started out in Sky.
I saw a game there. Their second
really?
year. Second year.
God bless you.
Yeah, it was $6 a ticket. You sat all the way up on top.
Yeah.
That was my only time.
It was a difficult venue. I mean, that venue is, even when we played football there, unless it's full, it's empty. You got to be fully full. Otherwise, you get lost. The energy gets lost in the atmosphere because the great gate of the roof, the grade of the roof is terrible, and the sound is terrible.
I was too snobby. My first Raptors game was actually at Maple Leaf Gardens, of all places.
Oh, even better.
Oh, yeah. I was there.
I was too snobby to go to the Sky Dome to see I don't want to see a basketball game there. So they played a handful at Maple Leaf Gardens, and that was my first one, second year, I believe.
Yeah, it was the second year.
So let's stick with the Raptors, if that's okay. What was your time frame? What was your time frame with the Raptors? So
5 years.
So were you there when the ownership changed?
I was there. I was one of the day one employees.
Right.
So, I was there when Alan and John bought it from. Excuse me, when Alan joined John in the beginning, and then when Larry took it over. It was actually Steve Stavros that took it over at that point, and Larry was involved with Steve. Yeah.
So the Raptors coming on the scene was a whole new ball game for Toronto, and I think in hindsight it's fair to say that in marketing the Raptors, you really wanted to set your own sort of footprint and not follow kind of what had been Toronto before. How hard was it to do that? Like, how hard was it to decide, we want to go with purple and black and red as our colors, as opposed to blue, which is everything Toronto?
Well, we tried to, and I give a lot of credit to John Bittok, the original owner. We tried to do everything that was different. Look, as you say, the Jays blue and white, and the Leafs blue and white. But not only that, their audience male and white and older. And we were going to, the first NBA game ever was played in Toronto, Maple Leaf Gardens, Toronto Huskies against the New York Knicks in 1946. And we had somewhat of a base of avid fans that knew the game. The majority didn't. At the time, the Jays had just come off 93. The Leafs were still losing, but they're still the Leafs, right? There's a legacy thing there that no matter what, it's like the Cubs, it's like the Sox. Those fans ain't going away. But
in the 90s, they were in the conference finals.
93.
Okay,
94, right?
93, right. So they were still, Gilmore, Gretzky, the high stick. But, we were coming in with this new product. And we said, one, we're going to suck, so we need to entertain them. And that's why the Raptor and the music and all the dance team and the people running up and down the aisles and the video board, we programmed more so than we did the team, just from our perspective, the game ops. Because we knew that's the only way we were going to keep fans. That I'm going to this game, they lost, but what a great time I had. And there are a lot of young people there. And, the changing face of this country is we're a brown country. There are new immigrants coming. There's 410,000 new immigrants that come to Toronto every year. And the majority of them come from basketball playing countries. whether it's the Philippines or China or the Bahamas or whatever. There's a lot of that's there. Soccer and basketball are bigger than hockey, that's for sure, and baseball. And so that's who we were appealing to with a lower ticket price. To your point, Mark, $6 for the ticket going in there, and we could fill that place as much as we could. So we went the completely opposite direction. We were going to be the new kids on the block that were bolder, that were going to take chances, and some of the things flopped. I mean, we tried shit, and you try so much and throw it against the wall, and yes, it works, or no, it doesn't. And we'd have a post game and say, okay, what worked, and we could tell by the applause, the track sound, the NBA tracks your sound, how loud the volume of the music is. If you're 85 decibels, I think you're going to get fined. But we'd also track the sound of the applause reaction. And so we would know, we'd go back and say, okay, what does this do? So we marketed completely different than those other two teams because we knew we'd probably only get 24% of their audience and that we were getting new people in. And if you look at the Raptors today, they've been sold out for forever. But if you go to the game, there's more equality of women to men, without a doubt. It's a much younger crowd. A Blue Jay crowd, they need an EMS truck outside there because for a reason. But it is a changing audience, and so that started earlier back then. Their super fan, I don't know if you ever seen Nab Bhatia. He's an East Indian guy who wears a turban. We purposely put the camera on him. He was front row, very successful businessman. He's got the largest Hyundai dealership in North America, and we kept putting it on him. And there's another guy this guy was an accountant who started off the game. He was fine. By the middle of the third quarter, he had his shirt open and he jiggled his belly and he had written Raptors on it. So we just kept going back to the dichotomy of these two guys. But anyway, it was a different crowd, a different marketing approach.
And Nav Bhatia now is like, he's an Uber celebrity, right? Like I was at, they had a bunch of NCAA basketball games at Scotiabank last year. And who was the highlight, the celebrity guy they brought in? It was Nav Bhatia. He's walking around. He's got a ring, and he's showing everybody, and he's getting pictures with everybody. And if you were to say, a non-celebrity guy is being brought in to be a celebrity, it just wouldn't make any sense, right? You would never believe.
He gives the players free cards. He gives the players free cards, right, and their family. So he gets very close with the players. Yeah, he's got a massive Hyundai deal. Mark, you had a question?
Yeah, I guess the question I had, when you're comparing the fan base, you said that the Blue Jay fan's a little bit different. Are they the type of fans that want to see a winner and nothing else?
Well, yeah. I mean, I got to tell you, 3 years ago, the Rogers put some money into the team, into the pitching, and overspent, and they started winning, and they brought back a younger audience. Mm-hmm. It was a hip thing to do. The following year, they did a sell-off. They were losing. Winning is the magical marketing. You're a marketing genius when you start winning. And the thing is, you have to market for the days that years that you're not going to win. And so, how do you do that? And I got to say, the Toronto Maple Leafs have done a tremendous job on that. And what they build on is generational devotion and legacy, and they bring out the older players, and they build their younger players up. But they haven't won anything for quite some time.
67, yeah. Because last time I was in Toronto was 2015. It was right during the first round of the playoffs. And that place was packed. It was exciting. That's all you heard on the radio were the Jays. I remember being up there in '93 as a kid on vacation. You had 50,000 people at the Sky Dome. Quiet.
No, it was – well, and you know what I got to tell you?
It was exciting again.
Well, it was exciting. And for us and all these things, Canada – look, I'm a dual citizen. I've been up here and born in New York, moved up here after school and after work. We have this inferiority complex, and at any time we can beat you at your own fucking game, we're gonna be pounding our chest because we're living next to the biggest and greatest and most powerful country in the world, and it's the mouse and the elephant. So anytime we won the series, it was not only about our civic pride, it was about a national thing.
So when you're in the marketing game and suddenly things change for the team, and like with the Raptors, suddenly you get a guy like Vince Carter come along. How much does that change your focus in selling the team?
Well, you don't know until year 2 that he or after the first quarter of the season that, okay, we got something here we can work with. And then there's, your GM, depending who your GM is, say, you know what, I don't want to focus on that player. The other guys are going to get upset. And so, you're not doing the 30-second spot focused on him. And so it depends who you have in the seat. And like Messiah is fantastic. But, we went through a couple of bad GMs, and that were all about the sanctity of the game and not realizing this is a business. So it does change once you have you have a star coming up. And look, we had a bunch of them, from Tracy McGrady and Chris Bosh and Anthony Davis, and like we had a bunch of really good players at times. But Vince was a game changer.
And you've been doing this for quite a while, Brian. How has that changed the marketing versus the team ops over the years?
Well, it has changed. You know what? And it's a good question. GMs realize GMs are hired to be fired, and they realize that if they don't deliver or the team doesn't deliver on the court, that they need all the marketing help that they can get, because it'll preserve them for staying in the seat. So I think it has become better. There's still a definite division. There's a definite division in it. And but at the same time, if you have a good GM, and what has changed, and I'll tell you, Paul, it used to be the GMs ran the teams. Now there's a president of basketball or a president of hockey, then there's a GM, then there's the coach. And so the president is the one that really now liaises on the business side of it and then puts it down to the GM. So, and that is only in the last 6 years where you're having this hierarchy change, that the GM used to be the guy. I was on the phone this afternoon with a guy named Brian Burke, whose book I'm reading. He's a good friend of mine, and he's one of those GMs that he says, you know what, there's only room for 2 hands on the steering wheel, and they're both mine. And that's why he got fired from Maple Leaf Sport and Entertainment. He said that to George Cope, who was the president of Bell Media, who was one of the telcos that owned it. He had a board meeting, and they're going like, yeah, really?
Guess who's taking the wheel, and it ain't Jesus.
Well, everyone reports to somebody, right? We all got a, right? So,
yeah,
it's that hierarchy's changed now.
Yeah, definitely. Are we ready to switch over to a little bit more nostalgia, a little bit of Argos talk? Are we good with that?
Whatever you guys want.
So we mentioned that at the beginning that you were the president of the Argos, and most people probably don't know this. The Argos were absolutely hideous throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, a good chunk of the 80s. And a big turnaround was when they were purchased by Bruce McNall, John Candy, and Wayne Gretzky. And if I've got my math right, that's when you came in.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it like to be in that extremely famous ownership group with them, right? Like you're talking about celebrities. They started as the celebrities, and they brought others in. What was that like working with those guys?
Look, it wasn't easy. I had the king of comedy, John, much loved across North America, around the globe, and like John's a really, really smart guy. Like, you know, he's a comedian, but he knows a lot of shit about history. I mean, he's just one of those guys that knows a lot of things. But the king of comedy is quick-witted like that. And you had the king of hockey in Wayne, and then you had Bruce, who was like the king of sports. At the time, I think he was also chairman of the board of the NHL at that point in time. And so, you know, he was trying to replicate the move that he did with bringing Wayne down to LA and turning, you know, like I used to go to LA and we'd be in the Forum Club before a game, and like there'd be Schwarzenegger be over here, and you know, Goldie Hawn be sitting here, and you know, he's introducing me to all these stars, and he was using that whole celebrity bullshit and to make this the cool thing. And so he does it with Rocket. The problem with that ownership group was Toronto and LA, and they don't fall for it that quickly. And you know, he spent $4 million US up front. We had to pay up front to Rocket, and he beat Rocket was going to be the #1 pick in the NFL draft that year, I believe. And so now all of a sudden, Rocket's in my office with his mother, who is another story, and and you know, like, and he's not the most. He doesn't want to meet the media. He's a shy kid. I mean, fast, good hands. He's fantastic in ND. But and now I'm $4 million behind the gun. I haven't sold a ticket yet, and so you know I got to make up the $4 million plus, and you know other expenses on top of that. So it was difficult. And you know, John and Wayne and Bruce, I'll say this, they were fantastic, and anything I wanted, you know, they gave to me. I don't know if you remember the opening night, and Dave, you may have remembered it, and it was. You know, we probably had 50,000 people there. We had the Blues Brothers on stage. We had Margot Hemingway dancing on stage. We had like all these stars had come up. Jimmy Kelly was up in from Buffalo, and like it was a magical evening, and we won the game. In fact, we went undefeated that whole season. We were at home. We were 10-0 at home, and you know we started bringing fans back, and we had halftime shows that were really good, and. So it was a mix of entertainment. It's not unlike the Raptors, but a little bit different because it was football. But, you know, the problem with those owners is Bruce, who went to jail for 6.5 years for stealing $220 million, was running the business. Wayne is a close buddy of mine, had invested money. John had invested money, but was capped at $1 million. Wayne and Bruce were in LA. John was in my office every day. 10 o'clock, John come rolling in. And now it's comedian wants to run football team. And, you know, we did a commercial, and he says, I got this guy, Chris Columbus. You know, he can direct this. Hey, this guy directed Uncle Buck and Home Alone. And then I get a bill for $90,000. I had I was doing a 30-second spot. I had like $27,000 I was going to do. I got an award for it from the New York Advertising. I don't know where it is group for the spot we did. But you know, John was like trying to help, and like when we did the Blues Brothers, you know, he brings in Jimmy Belushi and Dan Aykroyd and good Tom Murphy and all these guys, and I got a bill for it. So it was like, and then Bruce is going, well, you know, control the expenses. And I'm like, control John. And they wouldn't say anything to John. So that, you know, I to be honest with you, I managed up more than I did down. You know, I had a staff, I have a pretty large staff at the club, but I spent more time managing the three owners. So it was like, they're great guys. And Wayne to this day is a good buddy. I just spoke to him this weekend, but it was difficult. It was difficult.
I guess my question is, I grew up a John Candy fan. I remember when he bought the team. I saw the 20-minute video that Dave sent us out the other day. Just
that was
talk about
the TSN TSN thing on John Candy and the Argonauts.
Yeah, Dave actually gave us homework for this.
I gave him homework.
Yeah, just how dedicated he was. I just want to know, is there a story about John Candy that the public may not know about that you'd like to share?
There's a lot of fucking stories.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot, but one that's
you know, I'll tell
safe
you,
and sound.
John was probably one of the most generous people and one of the kindest and most respectful people. Respected, you know, he was just treated everybody the same. Loved the players. Would be in the locker room. Loved the players. He, you know, I don't have it in this office, but you know, he at the end of the game, he'd be holding a helmet up and be going out to the stands. And all John had to do was look in the stands and raise his eyebrow on one of his faces, and the place would go crazy. He was the most beloved, liked. He's like, everyone has that friend that is, you know, does nothing wrong. And that was John to all of Canada. And so, you know, he would do anything. And I could tell you one story. They had blackouts. If the stadiums weren't sold, they would black out the local broadcasts. So we'd go in, and we had, at the time, we had Lee Iacocca's jet. John had, this is another expense. Lee Iacocca's jet. We'd fly into the game, and they're shy 7,000 tickets. John would get up at 6 in the morning. I'd go with him, and we'd hit every radio and TV show saying, "Get out there and buy these tickets. We're breaking them." We call up blackout breakers. Everyone, come on, support your team. And they'd lift the blackout that afternoon. And he did it in every team we played for. He was passionate about the CFL. He was passionate about the Argos. He grew up in Scarborough, and so that he, born in Winnipeg, grew up in Scarborough. He loved the team. And so, and not only that, you know, beyond that, he knew every member of the staff. He knew him better than I did, because he didn't do anything, I did. But he knew every member of the staff. I mean, he was phenomenal. I can't say enough about John, to be honest with you. Now, he could also have a really good time, a lot. And so, you know, I never held that against him, but he'd be up the next morning ready to go.
Wow.
That.
So,
he's an impressive guy.
91 Grey Cup, you win. It's a Cinderella season. Well, for those of us who weren't looking at the checks going out, I guess. And then 92, it wasn't there. What happened?
Well, Bruce insisted on I'll never forget the line, and it's going to be in that book, I think. You know, these fans deserve a ticket raise. Wow. And I said, Bruce, you know what? We are not at that point. I said, we need 2 to 3 years holding on the ticket prices. You want to do something nominal? Fine. Mind you, I did not know that his world was crumbling behind him. That, you know, one bank after another was saying, where's the money you owe us? $220 million. At the time, that was more than Michael Milliken on Wall Street. I mean, it was one of the biggest white-collar frauds at the time in the world. And he was desperate to get money. In fact, asked me to go to the Canadian banks to get a input of money, loans. And so I said, sure, I can do that, because I knew a bunch of people. And so I said, send me up the debt, which in a normal situation, when you're asking for millions of dollars, you're going to have a historical record of your P&L, your balance sheet, you know, where the revenue is coming from, and profitability, I would assume, to make sure that you could cover any type of debt. Well, he sends up this great story about the coins that he sold and the value of the LA Kings, but no, and my background's accounting, no real numbers. So I said, Bruce, I need like real numbers. He goes, no, go in there and sell me. So I said, okay, you know, I'll go in there. And, you know, 2D, Scotia, we have 5 banks in this country, but this is not like Bob's Bank in the US. You know, Bob's Bank will give you $2 million in a toaster if you got like a small business. So and I, with all due respect to you US guys too, but it was, you know, it wasn't flying here. It wasn't flying here. So I said, Bruce, I need cash. You know, it's a story. I was out with my wife. We're in restaurant, and this guy comes up and he goes, "You're Brian Cooper?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, I put my hand out. He goes, "I don't want that. I want the $90,000 you owe me." He's a printer that had printed our collateral materials, and we were like 120 days. This is a small businessman. and we didn't have the money. And I kept asking Bruce for the money, and he was like sideswiping me here. So there was some downsides to this shit.
So was it a surprise to you when it all went down with McNall, or like did it start to sort of fall into place? Oh, that was what was going on.
Well, I had left in '93, and I found out. So I was watching from afar. Before I left, he had asked me to sell the team. And so there's a guy named Gordon Craig who was a bit of a mentor to me. He started TSN, which is the national sport network up here. And I went to him and I said, and I had a deal in place. And then I left. So I was waiting for that deal to go through because that's why Bruce owed me $320,000. And the deal wasn't going through, and someone from TSN called me and said, there's something fishy going on with Bruce's numbers. And that's the first time I heard about it. And then I got a call from Wayne, and I found out more. I mean, because you remember, Wayne was there. Bruce had done Wayne a solid. Took him out of Edmonton, frozen mud pit. And he's gave him a huge increase, opened his world to endorsements like crazy, and opened the American market for him, and it boded well for the NHL. But so Wayne's going to lose a couple million, maybe more, but at the same time he felt indebted to Bruce, and so when he was finding this shit out, he felt terrible. I mean, everything from Bruce used to take me into his office and show me that, this is Babe Ruth's first this, and this is, the Jesse, what's his name, the runner from the Olympics. Jesse Owens. And it was all manufactured bullshit.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy. Like,
So
they would use in tea bags the stained jerseys to make them look real.
right.
Crazy.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that kind of stuff. Yeah.
It was great. Well, if you look up Bruce McNall, and he had Merrill Lynch there do 2 funds based on his coin collections. They were all phony.
Well, yeah, he had it was other people's coin collections.
It was
And-
other people, but it was shit
Yeah,
that
it
wasn't
was-
even true.
It was crazy. His autobiography was just floored you. Like, how is
I
it
didn't read it. Is it good?
It's amazing. And he doesn't pull any punches. It's definitely, post prison. He actually talks about his life in prison and some of the rough times he had in there. But like, here's a guy who just, he was able to get just a ton of money based on like borrowing people's coins.
He was a con man.
And making people think that he had this stuff. And,
It was-
the banks they were in so far deep. And then in order to, I think their mentality was, well, we want to be able to get our money back. So we're going to give them more money. So we get our money back. And it just sort of kept rolling
And
and
he
rolling.
would get,
and rolling.
unbeknownst to that one bank, he'd get another one.
Yeah.
Credit Lyonnais in Europe, he was into them big time. And then when it goes down, I was getting calls. Like, did you know about this? And like, dude, he owes me money. I didn't know anything.
Right.
And then I see him, next time I see him is 8 years later, or not, maybe 8 years later, Wayne's Super Bowl party.
So talking about big money, you were part of the group that helped negotiate the biggest naming rights deal in sports history, which was with Scotiabank and MLSE. What's it like being in that room and negotiating something of such a huge magnitude?
Well, look, you don't want to be known for spending the most money for the naming rights. You know what? We did a tremendous amount of work before that. First of all, we had previously negotiated a deal with MLS&E to be their FI, financial institution sponsor. In that deal, so by the way, I was there to negotiate the Air Canada deal when I was with the Raptors.
Okay.
funnily enough, I found a copy of that, so I knew every clause in that deal. And 20 years come up later, or actually 14 years later, when we did the Scotiabank original deal with MLS&E, I said, as part last minute clause, as part of this deal, if the current naming entitlement sponsor passes on renewal, Scotiabank would have the first right before anyone else. So that put us in good position when I knew Air Canada wasn't going to pay up the bucks. Air Canada was only paying $4 million at the time.
And you're representing Scotiabank at this time?
Scotiabank you know what, they're a client of mine for 12 years when I was at still at MKTG, but I'm not really doing that much. But yeah, they're a client. So they have a portfolio that is an 11-figure portfolio of sponsorship, and we manage it. So we do landscape analysis of all the properties out there, competitive analysis, what the other banks are doing. We write a strategy for them, and it ended up going into hockey, and then we activate it for them as well. And we're on a large retainer up there. And by the way, this company is me and 40-something other people. I started myself, but added those people. And so we wanted those naming rights. It's in the heart of the biggest city in this country. It's on Bay Street, which is like Wall Street in the US. Everyone does their hosting for hockey games, which, I mean, all the business people go to hockey games, all the people go to Raptor games, concerts are there. One of the busiest venues in North America, 285 nights a year, other than MSG and then LA, and the fourth largest market in North America. And tons of, everything is broadcast other than the music. So, live from Scotiabank Arena, and you get the beauty shot at the opening, and you get in ice, you get, so there's a lot of hosting opportunities, brand exposure. We do all their banking. So we reverse engineered it to see how much that would affect the brand health, how much we could use it for hospitality, how much brand exposure that we would get, and how much banking we would get. So I had a range to go in there. So the guy that I negotiated against, the chief revenue officer, used to work for me, and in fact hired him. So when I was at the Raptors, so Dave and we started talking early, and in order for me to get a good price, I said, you need to go out and check the market, because what I can't do is give you a price, then you go out and check it, and I'm going to lose out on this. And you check the market first, and then we'll get serious. And we checked the market, and it was tense. My wife will tell you, we were at our summer home, and I was on the phone every day for a long time to get this deal done. A lot of it had to do personal relationships. And as we all of you have in your jobs, it's relationships. I mean, we can have all these Zoom things we want, but it's relationships. Looking the guy in the eye, knowing the guy for 25 years, knowing that I was going to deliver on a number that I said I could, knowing that I had the authority to deliver on it, and that he was going to be honest with me. A lot of late night calls. So the deal came down to, but let me be honest with you, when you say it's the largest deal, and I'm very proud of it. Madison Square Garden, Citibank, or JP Morgan Chase, they paid 4 years previous to our deal, which is $40 million Canadian a year. They paid $36 million a year, and they don't have naming rights on MSG. They don't have exterior signage. I mean, we're on the highway. You guys that aren't from here, you get there's like 200,000 cars that go by it every goddamn day with the brand exposure and other product articulation and all of those things. Those guys, they didn't get half of what we got, and they paid 36 US a year. So I wasn't shy about that. And by the way, after we did the deal and it came public, I know 2 other bank presidents were pissed off at them because they had BMO, Bank Montreal does their soccer team, and Royal Bank does their music, and they were pissed. So they would have paid 50 for this. So I didn't feel bad about it at all. Sorry, I get crazy on this one.
What do you see the future for naming rights? There's one that kind of jumps out at me, and that's in Milwaukee. Miller Brewery is no longer going to hold the naming rights for Miller Park, and we talk about all the time here about naming rights fatigue, and in the States you have it all the time where a bank merges and suddenly the venue is a different name, or like in Miami the stadium has had 12 different names. Is there a point where the return just isn't going to be there because there's been so much change?
100%. Look, there is still a benefit. We did the deal for Scotiabank Arena, and then Canadian Tire, they're a client of ours as well. They became the Ottawa Senators. They became it. In both of those situations, there was an uptick in their business, preference by consumers to use their product, unaided recall of who was the sponsor of the team, supported them because they were a team sponsor. So it does have a very positive and significant effect. When you have a venue, and I did a deal out in Calgary that started out as an Olympic stadium, then it went to Penn Growth, then it went to CP Airlines, then it went to Telus maybe, and then the stadium that you mentioned, it's a skin of front, and so there's diminishing returns. People still call the Sky Dome, and not, what I mean? And so there is a diminishing return. So we felt in this case with Air Canada that it had been there for 20 years, that this change, and we've already seen by the way, the change in the business too. When Miller does those deals, and so I negotiated the deal for Molson in the Scotiabank Arena as well. Those type of deals are, okay, I'm going to get $30 million worth of beer sales. I'm going to pay you X million dollars for the sponsorship. So there's a business reason there. On the bank side, they're getting their banking business, but not as much as you're getting from selling beer. So in fact, I'm renegotiating now for Molson's because the 285 events due to COVID are no longer there. I want my money back.
Oh wow! I didn't even think of stuff like that. Oh my gosh!
I'm doing it for 3 clients right now, and it's millions.
So, do you think? Do you see to me, the landscape in Canada is a little bit different than in the States. Is that you have a very small number of companies that are holding the big naming rights, right? Like you have Rogers that has 3 spots, and you have Scotiabank, which has a few spots, and you have BMO.
It's telco
Bell
and financial. Yeah, telco and financial institutions right now. But you know what? Over time, look, it used to be beer companies, and previous to that, it was cigarette companies. But anything, you'll get auto companies that come in as well. Ford down in Detroit, Ford Stadium or the Pontiac Silverdome, and so Ford Field, and so it goes in cycles. And
it helps that the owner's name is Ford too.
Yeah, exactly. But so you'll see and look, when we did this, we did landscape analysis of all of them, actually globally, because the European teams themselves are doing some very good work. In fact, our company MKTG Canada is consulting to MKTG Global because there's a couple of them coming up there, and us little guys in Canada have more experience. We've done out of that little office, we've done I think 6 naming rights.
Wow!
And they could range everything from Halifax to Niagara Falls to the Calgary Saddle Dome to Scotiabank Arena to Ottawa Senators. Not a lot of people have the volume of that.
So, looking at it from an even bigger perspective, I think it's over the last 20 years, we've seen this just unprecedented growth in sports, whether it's in merchandising, whether it's ticket sales, whether it's player salaries, whether it's coaches' salaries. Where do you think, or do you think, there's going to be a downturn where some of these astronomical numbers level off? Or are we going to see players making $1 billion a year at some point?
Let me tell you, look how many baseball players I mean, the average price of baseball players now, it's crazy. Let me tell you, the technology is changing. So until so it's going to be more user pay. We're going to be watching on our iPads, and you're going to be paying for every game because I think they'll give so many games to the broadcasters. So as the technology changes, I think it will continue on an upward spiral because they'll charge us. And the thing about sports is, why are we all here? It's an escape for us. Like right now, I'm wondering, is my money on the Ravens doing well over Dallas as we speak? So in gaming, I sit on the board of directors of a company called The Score. I don't know if you know The Score app. It's number 2 sporting app behind ESPN. And it's now they have gaming, right? So there's 4 states we're in now. There's 21 that have legislation to go into gaming. I don't know if you guys bet for fun, but between fantasy and just betting, straight betting, that is another interest, another revenue stream that will be the biggest revenue stream. Cannabis legalization is going to be another revenue stream that's going to be coming into those arenas as well. It is, and that's happening. They're already in discussions up here with cannabis companies, but the legislation has not let it allowed to have marketing, but that will come down the road. And so,
really?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, I can see it happening.
Well, it's no different than 2 guys going to a game and having 5 beers and getting silly.
Well, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And as I spoke to one of the guys at the F&B, they said none of our bartenders had to break up a fight between 2 stoners.
Well, there was a cannabis company that was all set to buy the naming rights for I don't even know what it's called now, but where the Broncos play, and they were ready to pay cash.
That's right. Yeah.
And basically, the team said, "No, that's not really the image we're looking for."
The timing isn't right yet.
Not ready yet. Yeah.
No, it's not ready yet. So look, I think the dollars will spiral. Like any business, though. I mean, at some point they may say, "Okay, enough's enough," but I don't think sport's going away.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at through this pandemic, we were dying for some type of sport to come on play.
You've been listening to our show, haven't you?
No, I know, but it's been true. I mean, all of us, we were watching,
Korean baseball,
Korean baseball,
Korean baseball, and German soccer,
golf games, and crazy shit, ping pong. It's crazy, but it's an escape.
Have you been paying attention at all to what's going on in Major League Baseball right now with certain owners coming out saying they're losing millions of dollars?
Yeah.
I'd like to get your opinion on that because as a Phillies guy, I'm really, really angry. I won't get into it on the show.
Well,
your perspective just set me straight.
Every owner's in a different situation.
Right.
And they may be crying wolf. But at the same time, there's a capital appreciation of your franchise value going up. And when that is superseded by your expenses, that's when you can cry because you're going to get all your money back plus more.
Brian didn't pull me back from the other side at all.
No, that wasn't the answer Dan was looking for, Brian.
No, that is exactly what I was hoping he would say because I'm so over. Again, it's not about that right now, and these guys know. I've been typing them private messages all week, cursing the owner, just the one guy in the Phillies.
Thanks, Brian. You've led us to 2 more
I've
months
opened the door.
Philly bashing from Dan.
No.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you. Look at the Forbes valuations in the list over the last 6 years. This is the double-digit change, significant change in valuations every single year.
Yeah.
And then see what their payroll went from. And let me tell you, I can guarantee you, they're making way more on the capital appreciation.
It just made me so much madder. God damn it. I'm not going to – listen, when we were going into this, I didn't mention this in the private messages. I was like, the one question I'm really going to ask Brian is about this MLB thing because he's going to know. And he's going to –
I don't know.
Well,
no,
he's
Dan,
going to have an inside look, I mean.
Well, I know from reporting to the boards of
Yeah.
ownership groups.
Yeah.
What is being said around the table.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I know from that perspective.
But
I don't know that situation.
I knew you were either going to be like, listen, you can't be angry, or you were going to either go the other way, and that is not what I did not expect that at all. And I was like, okay, I won't bother you guys with it. That's I have one other question for him later, and I'll save that, or whatever you want to do.
Well, we'll do it, Dan, because we've come up over an hour. So
Okay.
I could listen to you all night, Brian, but we don't
I
want
could.
to.
It's been a great interview, and don't mind me. I got 2 hours of sleep. It has nothing to do with this interview. I've been trying to hide the yawns, and it's not you. It's been it's been great to listen to. So this, the other show Paul and I do is a hockey podcast, and being that you were involved with with Toronto sports for so long, how do I ask this question? Their reverse retro jerseys garbage. So I'm gonna ask. So the way I'm gonna
know the gimmick.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, how much is marketing involved with jersey design, or do they have not a say at all at what goes out the door in that way?
No, here's what marketing says. You know what? We need to put out there's a certain level of pure collectors that no matter what you put out there. And they say, you know what? The marketing budget comes in, we got to increase our revenue by 6%. How are we going to do that? And so, you know what? Well, we have to apply the league. You have to apply to the league, like I think it's 18 months or 2 years in advance. And then your manufacturer, in this case, I think it's Nike does it. You have to, for the authentics. And then Fanatics, you have to speak to Fanatics as well. Yeah. And so the marketing guys, all they say is, we need a new revenue stream. They don't choose the design. I mean, at the end, they come and they say, hey, what do you think? You're going, yeah, great. Do you think it's going to sell? They'll do some focus group work to make sure that it's going to sell, to hit the 6% increase, and that's it. One thing I got to tell you this, though. All of these businesses have become, and I do have to go, all of these businesses have become so sophisticated and using analytics and data and customer research and focus groups. It's not like when I first started out, it was like beliefs, you kick the doors open in October and they sell all the tickets out, you shitty popcorn, and that shit's over. Because the competition, the entertainment competition, whether it's Netflix, I'm just going to stay home and watch this, or, selling a ticket and getting to a game now is difficult.
Wow.
And so you have to do everything.
Wow. Go ahead, Paul. End it.
Yeah. Brian, I like I said, I could listen to this for hours. I'm fascinated by this stuff, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed it too. Before we let you go, Brian, do you want to let our listeners know if they would like to follow you on social media, or where they can find you, or follow
you? What? I'm not very good on social media. Canada Coop is my Twitter handle, but I don't do much on it at all, to be honest with you. In fact, my daughter says that just give it up. But
probably.
I kind of wish my daughters would say that to me, but
she's probably right.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I'm in that stage of transitioning. Like, I've had my time. I'm gonna sort of start to relax now and do the things I should be doing. So,
well, beautiful. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Brian. We appreciate it very much and enjoyed the conversation immensely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Great to see you guys. Thank you very much.
Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, that was Brian Cooper. We want to thank him. That was I don't know about you guys, but I thought that was a fascinating conversation. We could have done like another 2-part or 3-part.
I totally thought he was going to pull me back over on the other side about hating on John Middleton and the Phillies, but he was like, "No, F that guy." I was like, "Oh shit, what do I do?"
All right, so this is usually the part of the show. Well, used to be. I can't say it usually is because we're 9 months into lockdown now.
Still shorter than
the part of the show where we like to recap our visits.
Still shorter amount of time.
Don't get
none
much of a chance to. Did anyone have any sporting journeys, stadium journeys, as it were?
I didn't have any journeys.
Yeah, I had a 3-day weekend. I didn't even leave my house.
I went to the buffet called The Journey, which spot on sushi and all sorts of stuff.
I walked behind
Buffets.
my.
Do you still have those things? Oh my gosh.
I took the
Ooh, I
dog.
would not go to a buffet right now if you paid me.
I took the dog. I wouldn't go to a buffet before COVID.
Do they still have sneeze guards, or did they take those out and
No, what they
distribute
have
them
at-
everywhere?
What they have at the Journey Buffet, and it's a classy place, but what they have there is the people serve you the food. They sit in front of the
Okay,
buffet,
that's a little better.
so you don't pick your food. Yes, and you wear gloves, and you have to have a mask on when you get the food.
Well, that's
so.
bullshit. Because right before COVID happened, I almost gave away the store across the street had these great little tiny corn dogs at their buffet. I can't get them now because they won't serve anything at the buffet. I would really like a good corn dog.
Yeah, I had a slice of pizza at the New York place. They didn't have the
Son of a
garlic
bitch.
or the.
Don't do it, guys. Don't do it. Stay
Yeah.
away. Stay away from the
Don't
evil
do
topic.
it.
Don't do
Don't
it. Okay,
do
so
it, 'cause it's not
Dan, where can our
what
listeners
it
follow you online?
seems.
You can follow me at Roy Rogers, not using the Fixins bar at Dan Line. They don't have it out.
Roast beef.
They don't have it out.
Oh well, come
They
on.
don't have that Fixins out.
I'm just happy to go to Roy Rogers to get the roast beef. I'm subjected to Arby's.
I didn't
whatever
know
they're
that
putting.
I was going to mention Roy Rogers. It was going to start a whole other
Oh,
thing.
that's my Bob's favorite place.
Yeah,
That
the
was
7-Elevens up my way don't even have, you can't even get a big gulp anymore.
Can you get a Slurpee still?
No, they're closed.
Well, see, now the freestyle machine, I can still get my Mellow Yellow Zero. Thank God, because if I didn't get that, there would have been 3
Dad was
homicides.
getting mad.
No, you would have had 3 homicides already. I would have been in jail for this whole COVID thing because I would have been mad.
Mellow Yellow Zero. I have never heard of that. I'll be honest.
You could get at the freestyle. Yeah, I've heard it.
So good. Mountain
Sprite
Dew my
Orange?
ass.
Sprite Orange.
Mountain Dew.
All right, where was I? Oh yeah, we're
Mark.
finding out. Mark, where can our listeners follow you online?
I have no idea. Oh, Ballpark Hunter on YouTube. I recap my visit to Whitaker Bank Park in Lexington. That's the latest video on my YouTube channel at Ballpark Hunter. Also on Twitter, where I'm anticipating news with minor league baseball. So hopefully
Tomorrow, right?
it's supposed to be tomorrow.
Well, we heard tomorrow a few times already.
We
right?
have an office poll going, so we'll see. We'll see who's right.
Who will be the fabulous 120?
Yes.
Who will be heartbroken? Who will survive?
Who will join Stan Island in the Appalachian League with their Allen's suing. Okay, we'll see what happens. We'll have more lawsuits. We'll talk about that with a lawyer next time.
There you go.
I
And
would
Dave-
really.
Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, Dan. All right, we're both one ahead. Dave, where can our listeners follow you online?
You could follow me on Twitter at Profan9. Literary journey continues. We were talking big money today. I just finished Hockey Fight in Canada, which was all about negotiations for broadcast rights for the NHL, where Rogers completely shut out Bell. That was pretty interesting. I'm into The Last Temptation of Rick Pitino right now. College basketball is dirty.
Oh, yes.
$5 if you know where Rick Pitino had his first college basketball coaching job.
To Providence?
No, Boston University.
Nope.
Brown.
Johns Hopkins.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, it's not special.
And you can follow my stadium journeys.
Oh, wait.
for information like that. No,
Yes.
go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Actually, I do want to take a second and do a little publicity, a little shout out. A friend of mine put together a children's book. It's called The Hard Road to Victory, and it's about the Chatham Colored All-Stars, which was a team in 1934, and one of these sort of quasi-traveling Negro League type teams. So he's from Chatham, which is just west of Kitchener, between basically London and Windsor. And
That's right.
that's where he's from. And one of his goals is to get the Chatham All-Stars into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. So if you are interested in checking out Hard Road to Victory, you can find it on Amazon. It's worth it. Some of the proceeds go to the historical foundation for the team in Chatham.
Awesome. Sounds like a worthy cause to support to me. All right,
Definitely.
and when you're done purchasing your Chatham All-Stars book, you can follow my stadium journeys on Twitter or Instagram at PuckmanRI. And don't forget to check out our website when you're done listening to the podcast, stadiumjourney.com. Follow us on Twitter, Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook, or like us on Facebook. You don't follow, you like. At Stadium Journey across all our social media channels. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find the Stadium Journey podcast, again, by searching VOC Nation Radio Network on whatever podcast search app you use. And remember, we simulcast live every other Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern at twitch.tv/danlaw83. Thanks once again to Brian Cooper for joining us. That was a fantastic interview. I enjoyed the heck out of it. We will return in 2 weeks. That'll be December 22nd. We will have our annual year-end in Stadium Journeying episode. This year, it's been different, that's for sure. But it's always fun to recap the year, and I think we'll have a lot of fun looking back on the 1 month we got to travel.
That's not true. We traveled 2 months.
Yeah, until about the beginning of March, yes. So for Dan Colachico, Mark Viquez, Dave Cotney, I am Paul Baker. Until next time, pardon me while I burst into flames.